This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports right here, live on Roku TV on our Northeast Streaming Sports Network. So happy to be here with you all today. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday, and boy, do we have a lot to break down. First of all, in about 20 minutes from now, we're going to have former defensive tackle who played for the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens, Sam Adams, is going to be joining us live. And what an interview that is going to be for all of you football fans, especially if in the Baltimore area. What a great interview. He played with Seattle. He's played with Denver. He played with Buffalo. Just a great individual. And we're very happy to have him on this evening. Want to also thank everybody else on Tobacco Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. We want to thank everybody on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're coming live all over the place, folks. And we'll be rebroadcasted on Spotify and iHeartTunes and so on and so on and so on. But tonight, we're going to talk some NFL football. A lot to go over as far as the NFL playoff picture. People want to know, is my team in? Is my team out? Does my team still have a chance? Is it next year? Should I hang it up and hope baseball comes back before, if they get off this strike before the time spring training starts? Well, folks, we have the answers for you. And tonight, we're going to break down who is going to, or who has a chance still, has some life left in this last and final weekend of the NFL. And we're going to switch it on over here as we get a couple of things going for you as we look at this NFC playoff picture. And there's still a couple of divisions. Obviously, you got the AFC East division, although both New England and Buffalo are in the playoffs. The question is, who's going to win that division? It comes real easy. Buffalo wins this weekend, they win the division. If they lose and New England wins, guess what? New England wins the division. And it means a lot, folks, because it means a home game as well. You win your division, you're going to have a home game, as you all know. And it also helps from a seeding standpoint when you're talking about winning the division versus entering as a wild card. But we're going to break this down, and let's go over to the AFC first, folks. And I try to put this in the simplest of terms for everybody. Right now, clinched in the AFC, the Bengals have the AFC North, the Chiefs, AFC West, the Titans, AFC South, okay? Titans right now hold the number one seed in the NFL. If the playoffs should have started today, they would be the number one seed, and they would have the only bye. Okay, the Bills, like I mentioned, are in the playoffs. The Patriots are in the playoffs, but they both still have a lot to play for this upcoming weekend, and we will key on that. We will hit on that, and we'll get to that within a couple of minutes. But let's start out with fans in Baltimore. I want to know, Larry, do the Ravens still have a chance? Yes, they do, but the Ravens are going to need a lot of help. The first thing that the Ravens need to do is they need to win Sunday. Okay, they need to win this weekend. If they win, they're going to need a bunch of help. They're going to need the Los Angeles Chargers to lose. They're going to need Indianapolis, who plays Jacksonville, to lose. And they're also going to need Miami to lose or tie. So it isn't impossible, but it is unlikely. I've seen worse things or weirder situations happen across football, but for Baltimore Ravens fans, the chance is slim. You are still in there going into the last game of the season, but it doesn't look pretty. Now, Indianapolis clinches a playoff berth if they win versus Jacksonville. That's all you have to do, Colt fans. You play Jacksonville, you beat a team that you should beat. You know what? If you don't go in there and beat Jacksonville, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs, okay? This is a game. This is a playoff game for you this upcoming weekend. You play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, in the misfortune that the Colts should lose, folks, they can still get into the playoffs with a Chargers loss plus a Baltimore-Pittsburgh tie, or a Chargers loss, a Pittsburgh loss, and a Miami loss. So lots of different ways, but the easiest scenario, folks, for the Indianapolis Colts to get into the playoffs will definitely be just win. Just win, baby. Just win. Then how about Las Vegas? You talk about just win, baby. Well, just win, baby. That's going to be a motto today. Las Vegas clinches if they beat the Chargers. If they beat the Chargers, they are in, unless, no, they're in. Okay, they are in. That game Sunday night, what a great game to have on TV at 8:30. The Chargers and the Raiders, whoever wins that game is in the playoffs. Now, Vegas clinches if they win versus the Chargers, or if Vegas ties plus an Indianapolis loss, or an Indianapolis loss plus Pittsburgh loss or tie. So a lot of different scenarios there, but at the end of the day, if Vegas just goes in there, just like the Chargers have to do, you're in. So that Raiders-Chargers game, to put it in simple terms, the team that wins that game goes to the playoffs. That's the simplest way, folks. If you're a Chargers fan or a Raiders fan, you win, you're in. If not, go home. And I'll tell you what you got both these teams, I give a lot of credit to. I'm a big Justin Herbert fan. I think he's done a great job second-year quarterback out there in Los Angeles. But how about this Raiders team going through all the adversity, and they continue to go through the adversity, and they're still finding ways to win and may make the playoffs. Just incredible. Great job to the coaching staff over there. Great job to Derek Carr and the rest of the guys who have been making it happen there for the Raiders in Vegas. So we'll see how that game goes. How about Steeler fans as we stay on the AFC? Steelers, it's not a real difficult scenario for the Steelers if you break it down. The Steelers get a playoff berth if they win versus Baltimore, which is not no easy game, and if Indianapolis loses to Jacksonville. Now, that's the tough part of it all. Indianapolis has to lose to Jacksonville, plus the Chargers and Raiders game can end up in a tie, which we don't see many ties in football, but weirder things have happened. But you got to win first as a Steeler fan. Yeah, I know it doesn't look likely that Jacksonville will beat Indianapolis, but on any given week, anyone can beat anybody else. Remember, Jacksonville has nothing to lose in this game. There are people fighting for positions, people fighting for coaching spots. Okay, they're going to do whatever they can do to try to win this game. So as a Steelers fan, it's not as complicated as some of the other scenarios. Now, there are a lot of scenarios in the AFC with seeding. We're not going to go over them. Okay, we're not going to go over them. But if you're a Steelers fan, you win, Indianapolis loses, you are in the playoffs in Ben Roethlisberger, what could be his last year in Pittsburgh. Then, real simple, both we mentioned the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots are in the playoffs, but now it's the battle. Excuse me one sec, folks. Just want to make sure. Okay. Now it's the battle of. We're just getting some messages. We want to make sure we answered there. The battle of the AFC East. Real simple. Buffalo wins. They're in as the AFC East champions. Either way, they're in. The question, like I mentioned at the top of the show, are they in as the East Division champs or a wild card team? That will be decided. If they win, they are the champs. If they lose and New England wins, and I believe New England plays, one of these teams plays Miami, then this, excuse me, folks, I apologize. Then that game will go to the Patriots, and the Patriots would win the division. So real simple, Buffalo fans. You win, you're the champs of the AFC East. You lose, the Patriots win. The Patriots, which would just be unbelievable to see them back as AFC champs, will win that division. We're going to take a quick station break. When we come back, we're going to analyze the NFC playoff picture for you. So we'll be back right after this quick message.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done previewing the AFC East. We're going to move right over, no hesitation, to the NFC, and we'll take a quick look at that, which is a lot less sophisticated as the AFC. A lot more is defined here. NFC, Green Bay is the NFC North winners. They are the number one seed and will be the number one seed in the NFC. Dallas is the NFC East champs. Tampa Bay, the NFC South. Cardinals do have a playoff berth. They are fighting now for that title out west. The Rams have a playoff berth. They're fighting for that title still out west. And the Eagles have a playoff berth. So those teams are all in. What does this mean? Cardinals clinch NFC West with a win over Seattle and a Rams loss. So first thing Cardinals got to do, they got to beat Seattle. A tough game versus the Seahawks. And they got to hope for the Rams to go ahead and for the Rams to lose. So that's how they get in. As we arrow down, we got the Rams clinch the NFC title with the win over the 49ers or an Arizona loss. So as long as the Rams clinch, they'll go ahead, they'll be in, and hopefully all that will go ahead and we'll see what happens there. So then you get the Saints. The Saints clinch a playoff spot with a win over Atlanta and a San Francisco loss. San Francisco, does not have an easy game. They are playing the Rams, folks. So the Saints, if you can go out there and beat Atlanta, which you should, and just hope for one thing to happen, for San Francisco to lose, you are in very, very, very good shape. So we'll go ahead and, hopefully see if that happens on Sunday. But for you New Orleans fans, on a year that seemed dismal from the start, a lot of injuries, a lot of, to come through, you obviously can make the playoffs, have a very legitimate chance. Now, the 49ers clinch playoff spot with a win over the Rams or a Saint loss, okay? So one way or another, basically, if you're a 49ers fan, beat the team that you're supposed to beat, and you are in the playoffs. So when you look at that division, a lot simpler, a lot less sophisticated as I try to test something out right here. And I know we don't have a camera for Sam yet, but I hear him in the background.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're not going to have a camera for this, but that's fine, Sam. I'm not. We got you on. Give me a second. We'll get you right on here, which I'm glad. That's great. No problem at all. We got you, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess right now is better time than no time. There he is. Now I see you. There's the big guy.
Hey.
Gentlemen, please welcome in. One of the guys I loved growing up, defensive tackle, 14 seasons in the NFL, won the Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens. Let's welcome in Sam Adams. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing? You had me excited over here talking about the playoffs.
Buddy, I am, and are you, let me ask you played for a couple different teams. I know you live out west. Who are you? I know you were born in Houston. You lived in Houston. You were playing in high school when I lived in Houston, and I still remember that. We'll go over that in a minute. But who do you root for nowadays?
Well, I live in Seattle,
and you played there.
And I played there. I root for them. I am an eternal hater of the Pittsburgh Steelers because I am a Baltimore Raven through and through. Won a championship there. Love them. I root for Buffalo. I root for Vegas, even though I was an Oakland Raider. So those are my teams. And Cincinnati. I played for 6 teams. So I kind of, it depends who's playing at the time.
Right.
But my favorite teams are Seattle, which I live here, and the Baltimore Ravens. That's home. I got an NFC and an AFC.
There you go. Now let me ask you this, Sam, because I mentioned Houston to you, and I knew you grew up there. I lived in Houston, 1990, 1991 era. You were your last year of high school, right about to go to Texas A&M, and you were playing, I believe it was Cypress Creek High School.
Yes.
Correctly. And I tell people this. I had moved after living up north for a while down to Houston to take a job, and if you've never seen high school football in Houston, Texas, you are missing out. I had to tell people, and you can back me on this, Sam, those games, I remember seeing fans pack the Astrodome for high school football games back in 1990. What is it about Houston with that love for high school football?
It's Texas, period. We do football in Texas. That's it in a nutshell. They decorate your front lawn. You know where all the players play at. You drive around the neighborhood. They have these huge signs at home of number so and so. They decorate your locker. It's special. And they put the games. I played in front of 20,000 people in high school, so it was awesome.
Now let me ask you: did playing at that type of level there he is. With those amount of fans, did that help you for when you went to Texas A&M as far as being in front of those big crowds?
Are you there? Did I lose you?
Yep. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Not yet. Let's see. Let me see if he's on. We lost him. Hopefully, he'll try to shoot right back on with us. Not sure what happened to his feed there. Sometimes we have problems. We apologize about that, folks. Let's see. Let me tell him to come right back on, and I'm sure he will, and we'll get him right back on momentarily. Let's see. All right. Let's see if I can get him back on here. Are you able to hear me now, buddy?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
You keep floating out on me. Let's see if we can get you back in there again. Are you still there?
Yes, there we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, you can hear me, bud. Okay. Let me ask you something. 1993, you're playing at Texas A&M. You have an incredible year. You can still hear me? Nope. We're losing his feed there. Not sure what's going on there. We'll try to hopefully get him back on in a second. Are you there, buddy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Might be a feed problem there. I apologize about that. But Sam, talk about that junior year, Texas A&M. You lead, the team in tackles for loss 13, sacks 10.5, forced fumbles 5, fumble recoveries 3. You have 78 tackles. You completely go off that year. Tell me how that junior year helped prepare you for the opportunity of when the NFL did come.
I mean, playing at that time, that it doesn't, even though it doesn't exist anymore, the Southwest Conference was extremely competitive.
Yes.
We had great talent there in Texas, and the funny thing is, half of us played against each other in high school. We had Rice, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor. I mean, they're SMU. I mean, they're all right down the street. In fact, I very seldom flew in the Southwest Conference. We took buses. We were so close. Um, so I mean, it was a there were great rivalries every single week. It was someone that you had grown up playing against, and they could all play. I mean, every week you're playing against an NFL guy. And the funny thing was, I had 2 or 3 NFL guys on my high school team, and every high school team I played against, there were NFL guys. I mean, shoot, Bert Emanuel was a quarterback for Langham Creek High School.
Yep.
Dan Neal, who played with me, won 3 Super Bowls for the Denver Broncos. So we had people every single week that we were playing against that went to the NFL, that were from high school all the way up into college, and just playing in the Southwest Conference alone. I thought it was stronger than the Pac-12, and it was competitive. That you saw multiple different types of offense and different arrays of formations and sets and ways of people attacking you. And back in that time, one week you'll be playing against a wishbone or a triple option, and the next week you could be playing against, Aaron McNair or the University of Houston, who was running the air raid. And so, it prepared me because of the multiple offenses that we've seen. The competition level was always high and extremely competitive because it was personal, and the coaching that we got. And I had some of the best coaches. I probably had 4 head coaches. A couple of them became NFL head coaches. Mike Sherman for the Green Bay Packers. We had coaches from UCLA. We had Coach Bob Davie, went to New Mexico. So we had a ton of great coaches, and it gave me a learning experience off the field that I needed to help prepare me for what I was going to approach on the field. My IQ was extremely high. My father, taught me the game, and then going on to Texas A&M and learning from R.C. Slocum's staff and the great people that he had teaching me, it was, it was a perfect match for me, and I was blessed.
And talk about that night. You drafted 8th pick overall, Seattle Seahawks. When it finally happened, how relieved? It's going to happen. You're waiting for it to happen. But talk about the moment that you heard your name be called, that you were drafted by the Seahawks, and how relieved were you? And what was your thoughts about, wow, I did make it. I am an NFL player.
Actually, it was kind of funny because 2 days before the draft, Bill Parcells called, and they wanted to negotiate a deal to make me the 4th pick in the draft. And my father played in New England for 10 years. I grew up in New England. During football season, we come back home, and so I kind of knew that I was going to be a 1st round draft pick and a high pick. But when I finally knew where my destination was, and coming to Seattle, it was a blessing. I was excited. I didn't really know very much about Seattle or the Seattle Seahawks. And when I came here, it was a blessing because I played with all pro, and I have been extremely blessed to play against a lot of great talent, but also a lot of great talent on my side of the ball. Played with Cortez Kennedy. I played next to Pat Williams in Buffalo. I've been in Baltimore. I played with several All Pros, Tony Siragusa. It was Rob Burnett, Peter Boulware, Ray Lewis. So I've been blessed to play with the best players in the game.
Yeah, and you talk about your dad. I remember your dad real well because I lived in New England So when he played with the Patriots, I remember Steve Grogan as the quarterback. So I remember your dad real well, but he played the other side of the football. He played offense, right?
Right,
Offensive line. Now,
right.
talk about some of the hurdles when you went from college to the NFL that maybe you didn't necessarily expect right away that you had to face in. How did you overcome them?
For me, the biggest thing was the competition. I mean, the speed of the game, I was good. That wasn't very, it wasn't a big change for me, and it wasn't very it wasn't an eye-opening experience. It was a competition in the locker room. It was a competition from the guys on the team. It was, how to, maneuver with grown men as opposed to people trying to get there. It was a little bit different. It was an adjustment. But the fact of the matter was, I went to Seattle. I'm very thankful for them. Then I had a chance to go to the Baltimore Ravens, where I felt the locker room was totally different. It was more family oriented, dog eat dog. But yeah, everybody in there was an all pro. I think I played with a couple well, fact, I played with 4 Hall of Famers on that Baltimore Ravens team, 4, and probably about 8 or 9 all pros. And it was just every day you'd look up and you say, oh man, this is how, Ray Lewis is doing. This is how Shannon Sharp is doing it. This is how Rod Woodson is doing it. And you want to leave your mark. And I think I did that. I think I did that very well with, being selfless and protecting, our linebacker, and playing well and being productive for them for the couple years that I was there.
And talk about that Super Bowl team with the Ravens. They were unbelievable defense. First of all, talk about Ray Lewis. I mean, you got to play on the same side of the football. And, you mentioned Burnett, who was unbelievable. I'm glad you mentioned him. Saragusa, Woodson, like you said, all these guys. I mean, how much easier did they make it for a guy like you to be able to do their job knowing you had those guys around you?
Well, Rob Burnett, man, Rob Burnett is a guy that makes you tougher. He made me a tougher football player. He made me tougher mentally. I was glad that I had a chance to meet him and play with him. It was, one of those things where, you had to learn how to play with another alpha. We had several alphas there. I had the court gesture with Tony Saragusa, and he was a tough guy. And he's playing hurt, and he's, be selfless, and he's playing with, fire and passion. And, he understands, two gapping and attacking the football. And, he understands, how it feels to be top blocked. And so, I played with some tough guys, and I had Michael McCurry, who I was with in Seattle. So, I mean, we were blessed. We came together. We went out and did what we did together, and it was an honor to, be with that group and that cast of guys, and learn different experiences from them, and enjoying that time. It was pleasurable. And dealing with Ray Lewis and just watching him do his thing, and being able to be a part of that in film room. I was, it was, I hope that I had the impression on them that they had on me. And I was difficult, and I was an alpha myself, and I wanted to be the best, and I wanted to, I was a physical guy, and I wanted to physically beat up, the guy that I played against. And the fact of the matter was, when you sit and talk to everyone felt the same way. Rob Burnett is a boxer by nature, and he wanted to go beat people down, and he was physical, and he an all pro, and he was one of the best to play the game at his position. And he had great years in Cleveland, and so it was a blessing, man. It was fun to watch, fun to be a part of, and yeah, that was the funnest time that I had playing football.
Now, tell someone who's maybe loves the game of football, but watches it as an everyday fan. Tell them what it's like to play in the trenches in the NFL, to play defensive line. They see you, they watch you, but from your perspective, a player's perspective who's in that position, how difficult and how nasty is it between those offensive linemen and defensive linemen?
I tell you, to be able to play in the trenches, man, you have to be a different kind of guy, and that's part of the thing that I was saying is dealing with Rob Burnett and some of those guys. I mean, you have to, of Cortez Kenny was the best that I played with. He made me he made me look at the game in a different way and understand what it was to be what we call a baller. He did special things. He was a special athlete, and just watching different approaches to the game. Whereas, I'm playing with the best to ever do it with Cortez Kennedy, and he's a pass rusher, he's a run stopper, he's physical, he's aggressive. Then going to playing with run stoppers with Tony Saragusa and someone that can stop the run, and one of the best nose guards ever played with Pat Williams, and so playing inside, you have to have a different mentality. And when you play, just like when you're looking at these linemen today, they're different type of dudes. Like, you look at the LA Rams, and I think that they obviously have one of the best defensive lines, if not the best defensive line in the game in a long, from a long time. And you got the specialists at the three technique, and then you got the guys playing nose guards and so forth. Back when I played, you had to be able to do both. And now, they kind of specialize, but, you have some of those tough guys that can do it all, because you can't play this game and not take on double teams. If you can't beat double teams and you can't split them and you can't defeat, guys on multiple levels as you're going to the quarterback, then, you won't be able to play here for a long time. And so, I had to learn how to do that, and I had great coaching to be able to teach me how to do that. But even more so, I had great examples from watching other guys go and do their thing.
Now, I wanted to ask you this before I forget. I don't know how I could forget this, but talk about how special it was going to Baltimore. You mentioned it about playing with these guys, but all of you coming together and reaching that common goal of winning the Super Bowl. What was it like to host that Lombardi Trophy?
It was I would say that it was a lifelong dream, surreal, and it was a feeling of relief, because I know that no one can take that from me. They can't take the fact away that I was there. They will never be able to take the fact away from me that I was an integral part of being able to contribute to that, and being able to put my name in the ring and help make us better and solidify one of the holes. Playing defense is very difficult, and with the right system and the right timing for that year and the right group of guys, it was an honor to be a part of them, and just learn the backstories and some of the guys and their backgrounds, and for us being able to come together as one and being special. I think that people compare, they talk about the best defense of all times and the best this and best that. Well, defenses don't play against each other, but I think we had a great year. I think that we were dominant in what we did, and I think that if you watch us and hopefully people enjoy what we did, it was a different mentality. It was one of the old school mentalities. And, the best you can do is, honor the path that you're taking from those that have graced it before you. And so, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Chicago Bears and some of those dominant defenses, and for us to be a part of that and to be able to take a piece of what they did, being physical, being aggressive, stopping the run, shutting down the pass, blitzing, attacking effectively, and then adding to it with the blitz zones and the coverages and disguising them, and the types of players that Ozzie Newsome and Marvin and the entire defensive staff handpicked to place into that defense to be the most difficult, defense to be able to defeat that year. I think it was magical, and it was a great job by everyone from top to bottom, and Brian Billick letting us do what we did and being able to pick us and pick the right players for it. It was beautiful to be a part of.
Do you think that offense that you had was underrated because the defense was so incredible? I mean, this is a team with Trent Dilfer, and of course, you mentioned Sterling Sharp, who's unbelievable. I mean, Jamal Lewis. You had players on that offense that, unless you were a Ravens fan, everybody just thought about that defense. And I don't want to take away anything from that great defense, but you got to give the offense credit. They didn't make lots of mistakes. They knew that if they could take chances and just play mistake-free football, that their defense would show up.
Listen, we had we had the best center in football in Mitchell. We had the best left tackle in football in Ogden, Jonathan Ogden. We had one of the best game managers with Trent Dilfer. We had, Tony Banks brought us to that point where Trent took over. We had one of the best running backs in the game. We had dynamic receivers. We had one of the best slot receivers in the game. So, we had the best tight end in the game who had been doing this for years and years. So, talking about underrated and so forth, I think that when people talk about that, they look for Brian Billick to be what they were in the Minnesota Vikings. Well, he didn't win a championship in Minnesota, and
Right.
you don't have to put up numbers. The team that has scored the most points has the best offense and the best defense. So the fact of the matter is when we win football games, it's more than that. And if you look at that collectively, we had a group of young players that we were dynamic on special teams. We scored on offense. We scored on defense. We scored on special teams. We flipped the field. We had great field position. So, I mean, it all came together, and it was a perfect mix of players that they picked, and it was awesome. I mean, I was one of the only players that they added on defense. It was great to be able to be a part of that and to come in and add to the defense. Offensively, they added Shannon, they added Jamal that year, and he had several other key pieces. I mean, our kicker was an All-Pro, so we from top to bottom, man, it was a great defense, a great experience. The right city was Baltimore is a tough city, and we repped them well. We went out there and we put it on people and enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, you definitely did. I want to talk about two quick plays here. Both highlights in your career. The first one, obviously, being the sack against Jacksonville. Mark Brunell, your first safety in the NFL. How wonderful of a feeling is it? I mean, for a defensive tackle to get a sack in the end zone, it's got to be like a running back or wide receiver scoring a touchdown on offense.
Man, I tell you what, it's one of those don't miss the layup. After you get your guy, first you line up and you're thinking, please pass the ball, please. I'm teeing off. I'm coming after the quarterback. If you want the first down, you got to have enough gumption to try to go for it. And so, I was able to beat my man and make a move. And it's very seldom you have a chance to play against a left-handed quarterback. And I was on the left. I played on the left-hand side, so his back was to me. He didn't see me, and I came in and I was able to get the safety. And I got two in my career, one in college and one in the NFL. And it's a humbling feeling, it's a lonely feeling, and it's exciting because it's something that very seldom happens. And you have a chance to score as a defensive lineman, and put points on the board. It makes you feel like you contributed just a little bit more.
And it's one thing to get a safety, but you got to show it up. 2003, your first game with the Buffalo Bills, the greatest quarterback who is still playing today, Tom Brady. You pick six. I mean, talk about a pick six for a defensive tackle.
I tell you what, the funny thing is I have 4 big turnovers in my career, and I have 3 really big interceptions, and they all are against Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And 2 of them I scored on. I picked Peyton Manning. I picked Troy Aikman and scored. In fact, I got a chance to run through him and score. And then I got Tommy Brady. And I tell you, man, it's blessing. I had a chance to, it was a great call by our defensive coordinator. I was able to get in the passing lane and pull the ball down, and then the long hike to the end zone. So it was it's exciting. I guess I caught him off guard. We beat them pretty good in that game, and they were not all there. And it was we caught them at the right time. And I tell you what, to be able to pick Tommy Brady, I played against him in the Pro Bowl, and I still think that son of a gun is mad to this day that I picked him off and took it to the house. And I think he talks about that all the time. And so, not all the time, but he remembers that play. And when he remembers that play, I know he kind of pissed him off.
How surprised, are you? You got to be somewhat surprised to look up, that was 18 years ago when that play happened. And you look up every Sunday, and guess what? He's still playing the game of football. And you guys are not that difference in age. I think you got maybe 4 years on him right now. How surprised are you to look at the TV on Sunday and see him still playing at the level that he's playing?
I mean, he took care of his body, and he didn't get beat up, and he was in the right place at the right time, and he was, God bless him with opportunity, and he's got the drive, he's got the passion, and he's great. I mean, it's great to see. I was just watching Ben Roethlisberger cry all night during the dang game last night, watching him play, and so these quarterbacks are these franchise quarterbacks are getting older and are playing better. I mean, think about it. Remember how old Joe Montana was when he was playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, and so I mean, Tommy is he's taking great care of his body. They have new things and new methods for taking care of your body with cryotherapy and ART and acupuncture, and the list goes on and on and on. And he's finding the fountain of youth every year. And it's more power to him, and I'm rooting for him, and I love seeing him, be successful. I'm a Tom Brady fan. He was always a good guy, and my cousin Andrew Adams plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks, so that doesn't hurt that I'm a Buccaneer.
Now, let me ask you this. A lot of unfortunate stories out of the NFL of recent time, with CTE and, the health of players, whether it's during their latter years in the NFL or after their career. And, we saw another incident happen, obviously, this weekend, not relaying it to CTE anyway, shape, or form.
Let's relate that to him being crazy as a Bessie bug.
But I want to get your opinion because, I've never seen anything like it. But, I don't know a lot about mental illness. I know a lot of players that I've talked to that have had issues after their career. But what are your thoughts on this whole situation that happened with Antonio Brown this weekend with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I'm not in the game, and so I don't. I don't want to get involved in the things that happened and what he did. Obviously, this. I was watching him strip down buck naked, and I was thinking about the movie Slapshot at the end,
Yeah.
where so I'm just listening to the music, and I'm waiting for the New York Jets guy to start playing the strip down music, and so I'm thinking to myself, this boy got to be crazy. Number one, it's freezing cold out there in New York, and I'm thinking he is taking off his clothes. Number two, he supposedly got a hurt ankle. Okay, so your ankle sprained, you can't go back in the game, but you can jog up off the field when you piss. So I'm looking at this cat thinking, man, don't do it to yourself, because I have a picture that I forgot where I got this picture, but I have a picture that I send out every once in a while, and it's of this German Shepherd jumping off of a cliff to catch this bird, and it talks about what happens when you make mistakes out of anger that you can't bring back. And the fact of the matter is, he can't. He'll never be able to get that back. And then he goes to the game the next day at the basketball, with the Nets or whatever. And I just thought that it was bad form by him. And he just stay out of the limelight a little bit. And I think that this cancel culture with these younger players and these guys, the way that they behave, and I think that the mistakes that we make, we should try not to do them as public.
And let me ask you this. I'm going to go a little towards, first of all, in the college scenario for a minute. And I wanted to get your opinion on this because you didn't really have to worry about this when you played, about guys opting out of bowl games. I mean, because nobody would even think about it. As you know, back then, you did what was best for your team, and it was all about the team. But what is your opinion? And I look at both sides, Sam, because you see Matt Corral just getting injured, and thank goodness it's not a serious injury. He played in the bowl game, but you see another guy like Kenny Pickett opt out of the bowl game. I mean, what's your opinion of these players opting out of bowl games?
I think they shouldn't be allowed to be drafted. I mean, I think that it should cost them. I don't think they should be able to be eligible to be entered into the draft. I played in my bowl game. Yeah, people get hurt, people get injured, but now you're telling us that you're playing for the money, and I got to take care of my. You know what? It's not why you went to college. We're taking that out of there now. They got this NLI, and the kids making money. I'm good for that. I would love to make money, but the fact of the matter is, they're forgetting what the game is about. And you're not playing. Uh, I think it's ridiculous, and I think it pisses me off. Is what it does. I mean, it does. I don't know if I can say it on where we are,
You can
but it
say anything
does.
on this show.
Yeah, it pisses me off. That's absolutely ridiculous. You're not playing, and where I come from, I'm gonna tell you who's even worse. Those coaches letting those kids actually travel with the team and letting them be on the sideline. You left. You quit. I'm not for it. I'm not for it. I don't support it. You're there to play for that university. That university gave to you, and go play. I played in my bowl game. So I mean, what are you saying? If I don't win a national championship, I don't need to play in a bowl game. Well, that's ridiculous. That's
But
absolutely
Sam, if somebody
ridiculous.
comes back on the flip side of that, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, and says, but why is it okay for my coach to leave, like Kelly at Notre Dame, in the middle of the season and opt out of the rest of our season?
I think that's ridiculous. That I think that's ridiculous. These universities shouldn't be able to talk to these coaches until their
Right.
season's done.
So the same should be held, you're saying, for both, right?
Yeah, the same should be held for both. How are you? You're committed. You're just gonna up and leave. It's ridiculous. It's trash.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I just wanted to get your opinion on that. Hey, why don't you real quickly before I let you run, talk about some of the things you do, some great things out there. I know that you've been involved with kids for a long time in basketball. I believe in with the Special Olympics, and there's a lot of things you've done out there that don't ever necessarily go noticed on a day in and day out. And then I don't know if you're still involved. I know with the arena football stopped. I don't know when it's going to start. Why don't you tell us what you're up to nowadays?
So I own I'm a majority owner of an indoor football team. We play in the IFL. We play from March to August. And I'm a part owner of the Spokane Chalk. It's a great organization, great team, great city. And it literally gives us the opportunity to be able to give back to our community. I have done a lot in our communities. It's I find working in minor league sports, um, a lot of them have egos bigger than the NFL guys, and they're there for a reason. And if you can offer and be able to help somebody, I think that that's a great opportunity. It's more than just life in the NFL. It's maturing as a young man. It's maturing, and that goes for coaches and players too. And you see the same thing. Selfish play and selfish people. The things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it's just you basically what you look at is this is a life. And so this is a sport that you love. And it goes back to that cancel culture and people quitting and coaches leaving universities early and players not opting out and so forth. And you just go back and think about the whole kit and caboodle. And you got to say, professional sports is I don't know if we're necessarily evolving, but it is changing. And so I love the game. I love the sport. I'm able to affect change and affect people's lives. And, I like the fact that I'm able to give, young men platforms to be able to fulfill their dreams. And I love it. And, and then we do other things too. I chase my kids around. I got a point guard, at Oregon State. I got running back at Washington, and then my eldest graduated from ASU, transferred to Utah State, and finishing his master's at Western Illinois. And he's training with Ford Sports Performance and Tracy Ford, and trying to get ready to go make him an NFL roster. So we're proud of all my kids and thankful for the opportunities that we have.
Yeah, and we're real happy to know you're so involved. Now, is that season going to have a season this year, the indoor football?
Yeah, we played last year. We will be playing.
Okay.
People get vaccinated and people, wear a mask and do the things that, we have to do until we can all, develop herd immunity and everyone becomes safe. Then, things are going to keep doing what they're doing. I truly believe myself. Everybody has to do what they need to do for themselves. I don't push things one way or the other, but what I do believe in is protecting myself. And, shoot, if people wear sunglasses, they want to protect their eyes from the sun, then, if they tell you that, you can get a vaccination and it'll make you feel better, if you get sick, I don't understand why not. And so, I look at the politics and I look at people, how they respond and react to different things. And I just think that, the virus is not going to go away. It's not like the flu went away. It's not like, a lot of these things going away. We're not going to defeat it, but we can manage it. And hopefully that, our leaders and the people that are out there that are making these vaccines and the different things that can help us manage it, and everybody stays healthy and safe, and we can go on and live happily ever after.
Sam, before I let you run, I got one question from a fan that they type in the same question over and over, so I'm going to make sure I ask you this. Otherwise, I think he's going to come through my computer and kill me here. But they want me to say, ask Sam, what is his opinion on Oklahoma and UT joining Texas A&M in the SEC?
I'm all for Oklahoma. I think anybody goes to University of Texas is a bunch of, because of them and their sorry, selfish ways that we don't play that game anymore. I played in the 100th meeting between Texas A&M and Texas. They need to stay their asses where they are. They didn't want to come in the first place. They wanted to go make their money for the Texas, network and so forth. They don't need to come and join the SEC. The SEC is the best conference in all of sports. It's where the Buffalo roam, and now here they are wanting to join us when they didn't want to play us anymore because we left to go to the SEC. So now they want to take the ball and go home. Now they want to come back and join the party. And so, it is what it is. They're a great school. They can compete, but, I'm not for Texas coming in. Oklahoma is all good. They can compete. They're down south. I'm all for Oklahoma making a move. I think it'll make us strong and great and dominant. I'm not down with Texas coming. They should stay where they are, and whoever that leadership was that didn't want to play us anymore, they should be fired and bury themselves in the sand somewhere.
Well, listen, my friend, I want to thank you so very, very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Sports and Roku TV tonight.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. You have a great evening.
All right. Have a great New Year, my friend.
You too, brother. Pay on.
All right. That was Sam Adams, former NFL defensive tackle, 14 seasons, member of Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick station break, and then we'll be back right after this.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank. We got about 5 minutes left in our show tonight. Want to remind everyone that immediately following tonight's program, stick around for Sneaky G. I tell you what, you don't want to miss him. Now, he's sneaky, so make sure you hang out right after this show. Immediately following the show, Sneaky G will sneak right in and go ahead and have his show. So it's definitely a show you want to see. Second of all, we want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, unbelievable show for you tomorrow. Once again, we are going to have NBA legend, former New York Nets, his number 52 is retired for the Brooklyn Nets, we should say. Buck Williams will be on the show. That's right, we will have Buck Williams, NBA great, on the show tomorrow evening. You can follow us on this channel, Roku TV. You can follow us on Tobacco Road, sportsradio.com. We are on several different platforms. We are on Facebook, on the Northeast Streaming Sports page, on the Frankly Speaking Sports page. We are on Frankly Speaking Sports on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and so on and so on and so on and so on. It gets better and better and better and better. We're going to look at some of these questions that we've had, and I want to thank everybody so much. I couldn't get to all of them. Some of these questions are from, let's see what this one is now. There we go. Matt Rule needs to be fired. Okay. We already answered this one. Hold on one sec. Okay. Yep. There we go, folks. Matt Rule, I'm going to tell you something about this, folks. I'm not going to hit on it hard, but since Jimmy, thank you so much for watching us tonight and joining in. But you know what? Think about this. If I'm a guy that's on the outsides looking in for a head coaching job and Matt Rule was fired, I would have to be a fool not to want this Carolina Panther job. If you take a look as a head coach coming in, if Matt Rule is fired, the only thing you have to do, and I say only, and I make it sound a lot easier than it is, but if you really look at it from a GM perspective, if you get a solid head coach who has a solid coaching staff around him, offensively and defensively, you need to get a quarterback, which probably is going to be Kenny Pickett in the NFL draft if he is available, and you need to sustain and grow and get a better offensive line. You probably got 3 offensive linemen that probably can hang there. One of them is going to be this Brady Christensen guy who I think is incredible. Keep this Deontay Brown guy that is going to get more playing time, I guess, this week, and maybe keep Taylor Morton. So basically, you need 2 more offensive linemen. You already got a defense that is number 2 in the league, needs to be tweaked a little bit. You're going to have J.C. Horn back next year. If you're a Carolina Panther fan and Matt Rule is fired and you get anybody that has the ability to coach in the NFL, you very, very quickly could be a playoff team by next year. But the main thing in this team that needs to change right now is the culture of the team. And for some reason, whether Matt Rule is a good coach or not a good coach, it's not being brought out and relaying to the results that are being performed on the field. So for that reason, if a change is made, if David Tepper, the owner, is not happy with this guy at the helm, it would be a very enticing job. If I'm a Byron Leftwich, if I'm an Eric Bieniemy out of Kansas City, I am just drooling out the mouth at this opportunity. And, you know, especially if you're Leftwich, you already got this great defense. Now you just need to get an offensive mind around you that can help get this offensive line in order by going after the right free agents, and you will find it that you can have a very, very successful team there in Carolina. So, you know, we wish the Panthers the best next year. You know, Matt Stover, former, kicker for Baltimore, was another great kicker. That's right. They got some great kickers in their time. But ladies and gentlemen, want to thank you very much. First of all, we want to thank Sam Adams so very, very much for tuning in this evening with us and being a guest on our show. What great, great information. What great, great interview by Sam, as always. So we want to thank him very much for joining us. Once again, we want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, 9 p.m., as I try to get everything off my screen now, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be back with you. We will have Buck Williams, once again, New Jersey Nets, former New Jersey Net, New York Knick, Portland Trailblazer on with us. On behalf of all of us here on Frankly Speaking Sports, thank you for tuning in. And remember, stay tuned as following this show, Sneaky G.